Welcome, media consulting, to contracts, making it stick. I will explain what to avoid in negotiations, what to do during the signing of the contract, and what I changed and added to the clause. In negotiation, you want to avoid misrepresentations, ambiguous language, and collateral contracts. Avoid making statements during negotiations to induce the other party into entering the contract. So if Matt asks, "Are these grade A tomatoes?" and Jane says, "Oh yes," "Oh no." This may be deemed a misrepresentation and allow Matt to get out of the contract. Sales talk and opinions are okay. Issues come from statements about facts. So when Matt asks, "Are these grade A tomatoes?" Jane should say something like, "I think so. As far as I know, I can check," or "in my opinion." This is an issue, especially if you knew that the fact was important to Matt, like he specifically said he would only buy grade A tomatoes. Or if you have information that they don't have access to, like the farmer exclusively told you that the tomatoes were not grade A. Avoid using ambiguous language because of contra preferendum, which means when a word's meaning is unclear, a court will favor the interpretation of the party who did not write the contract. You want to avoid making collateral contracts, it's a promise made in exchange for entering into the main contract. A promise that was not included in the main contract may be enforceable as a collateral contract. For example, if Jane offered Matt a crate of carrots in exchange for entering into the contract for a crate of tomatoes. Why does this all matter? Because the court will typically follow the parole evidence rule, which means a contract in writing that is clear doesn't allow any other written or oral evidence to contradict, vary, or interpret the agreement. This is unless the court can be persuaded by things like ambiguous language, collateral contracts, and misrepresentations to open the door to other evidence, like what happened during negotiation. Now, the actual contract. Use things like caps, underline, bold, and color coding to make the exclusion clause stand out. Don't use fine print in the exclusion clause. They may miss something important. Have them sign or initial throughout. Give them time to consider all terms, advise independent legal advice, and bring each point to their attention. Next, changes I made to the original clause. I added an entire agreement clause to try and mitigate the vulnerability of outside terms being read into the contract. I limited the doctrine of good faith, so you don't have to disclose everything, but don't lie. I made sure it was clear the status of the parties was equal to mitigate the vulnerability of unconscionability. I limited legal rights so they can't go right to court, they have to start with arbitration. And I made the jurisdiction so the governing law will be Ontario. I used clear, concise, and specific language and defined important terms to avoid vulnerabilities from ambiguous language. It doesn't hurt to send an email after the contract is signed stating what you agreed to. It creates objective evidence of a mutual meeting of the minds. Stick with it. Do not set precedent of going outside of what the contract says. You do not want to make the clause unenforceable by creating the expectation that you're not enforcing it. Follow these tips for a contract that's awesome. Awesome to the max. Thanks for watching.